Resolute Exposure is a social media platform. Almost all content on Resolute Exposure is created by citizen journalists. I share content created by citizen journalists who I believe to be the best at finding facts buried deep into the abyss, or outlets who I believe to be best for verifiable information. We have to operate within their system, and we only have the information that they allow us to have. These citizen journalists who nerd out on fact-finding missions and then add their opinion to better inform me to make the best choice for me in this war of narratives is Resolute. This information war is a battle for your mind and ultimately compliance. While mainstream media dismisses social platforms as mere echo chambers for fake news, independent spaces like this prove that shared content and live dialogue actually foster deeper critical thinking. So, I am excited to share the content in hopes you'll turn off mainstream media, who I believe is just a version of entertainment. So again, welcome to Resolute Exposure.
The sharing of biased and false news has become all too common on social media. More alarming, some media outlets publish these same fake stories without checking facts first.
The sharing of biased and false news
has become all too common on social media.
More alarming, some media outlets publish these same fake stories without checking facts first.
Unfortunately, some members of the media use their platforms to push their own personal bias and agenda to control exactly what people think, and this is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
As the world watches and listens in horror, the peaceful pro-democracy demonstration in China comes to a violent and bloody end.
Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall.
Wolves hiding nearby, whispering do or die around me. You say your last good night while I
There is another very important phase of warfare. It has as its target not the body, but the mind of the enemy.
The target of psychological warfare is against the enemy's mind.
It is words and ideas.
The ammunition used by Psywar.
Its mission is to influence the thoughts of the enemy soldier, and at the same time
is expected and encouraged to study foreign languages and the social sciences such as history, economics, and sociology. He must have a broad and sympathetic understanding of all phases of human experience.
Gripping at my skin, the walls of night close in.
But the use of this force as an integral part of combat has now taken on new form.
As I wait to say my last goodbye.
These are the Psy-War soldiers.
All right, guys. Good evening and welcome to Thursday's night's Caught Up episode 139. And we're going to talk a little bit about the White House versus the White House UFC versus the White House Gay Pride event. It should go very well, right? Talk a little bit about Israel was not included. A little bit about Supreme Court and the 2A that came out today with the marijuana thing. Listen to a little bit of DEFCON 0 and Prometheus Action because between the two of them, they do a fantastic job outlining a little bit about the Iran thing. You know, the deal that was put out there, and how Israel wasn't included in that deal, and so the memorandum. I'm not going to talk much about the memorandum personally, like give an opinion about it based on the fact that I want to wait to see what President Trump comes out and says about it. Right now, we're getting a lot of mainstream media, Fox, CBS, NBC, CNN, all of them talking that um, uh, what they're reading so far and all their opinions um, and mostly it appears to sound like doom and gloom for me. Um, the deal was done a long time ago, as far as I'm concerned, and um, I'm not um, as confident in explaining those things um, in detail until I want to hear what the president comes out and says. He made a statement that he may actually read it word for word, just to make sure that the media gets it right, and that would be interesting to me. So I'll probably wait to go over in detail each one of the things of the memorandum. But anyway, the most interesting thing to me about the whole thing is the Israel part of it. Been saying for a little while that Israel needed to stand down. I call them little brother. They only exist because of the United States of America. When I say that, I'm talking about the country, the borders, and that piece of land that a bunch of men made. Sometime in the 40s when they decided that they were going to give them that piece of property, and I'm not talking about the biblical part, um, the nation of Israel. Um, and I'm not an expert in that either. But I know when I made a post about it, people get confused and they want to merge the two together. And I'm here to tell you they're not. The biblical part, if you're Christian, if you have faith and all that, as I am, um, tells us that we're supposed to protect Israel, the nation of Israel. It's the people of Israel. It doesn't matter what property that they're on. And I also believe that there's a two system, like we have a deep state here in United States, uniparty, old guard, whatever name you want to put on it. Well, Israel has the same thing, and Bibi's the head of that. And so, uh, just the same as China and Russia and everything else, there's a civilian side of things, and then there's a deep state side of things that's mixed in with the government, which we all are living today. So, we'll go over that for a little bit, and uh, and maybe when the president comes out, talks about the memorandum, then I will as well. So anyway, gosh, I messed up. Computer's acting stupid. Hang on, guys. It will not. Huh. It won't let me pull up my other page. Hang on, guys. Okay, I think I got it fixed now. Sometimes technology is stubborn, and when that happens, then you kind of look goofy there for a second, which I don't feel like I look goofy, but uh, because I refreshed everything, all the chats are gone, but I haven't pulled up on my phone. Anyway, White House UFC 250 event. Absolutely amazing. I don't know if you watched it. I watched it. I watched it till about midnight. About that time is when I fell asleep, and on that morning of the fight, or maybe mid morning, there was still a judge that was being asked to stop the event. So, if we talk about the event that happened, we understand, and what we know is, and what's been reported is that the UFC paid for the event. They probably made money off of commercials or sponsors or something like that, and I'm not exactly privy to the details of all the people that were on the White House lawn in the event at that time, if they paid or it was or whatever, and maybe somebody else can better tell me than that. But it made a big stink, and so it was amazing because the left, and if you believe in the left, but I'll just say the Uniparty, um, they they threw a fit like it was just the worst thing in the whole world, and so uh, it was a couple day event. They had motorcycles there carrying on, and I don't know if you guys grew up watching like Jeremy McGrath and some of them on the dirt bikes, but and then eventually the X Games. But them guys is out there doing stuff like that, just putting on a show, probably a little more masculine than the last event that was put on by the illegitimate administration, and um, well, just kind of neat. Let's look at some images here real quick. Oh, it's not gonna let me do this. Hang on. Yeah, we'll get rid of that. Huh. Okay, hang on. Let's see. I had this all together, and then when I had to refresh it all, it it messed it up. All right, watch this. Let me share this screen right there. Boink. We had some rain today, guys, and this may be part of the reason as to why. Let's see, bread and circuses, yeah. Scrappy Dog says, was disgusting that the crowd demanded a fighter to continue even though he was unable to continue. Well, that's UFC, buddy. I don't know what to tell you. So look at that. Fireworks. Look at that. I mean, that's pretty cool there. You know what I'm saying? A picture where you got the White House over here in the background. What's that? Is they doing that? Let's see. Yeah. Check that out right there. Pretty cool. All that's carried on right there. Look at that. Got fighters walking through the White House as they enter into the octagon, being escorted by heroes, I believe, deemed military heroes and officers, civil service, and all that. It says the military watched their every move. Look at that. Not so look at that. Colonial style right there. Trump, ever present. The ladies in the octagon. Dana White. That's pretty exciting, ain't it? Look at the flyover. Look at the giant screens that are in the back. Look how many people are there that came to this event, right? Some might say that was maybe reckless and irresponsible based on the fact it's the White House and all that stuff like that. But I don't know that it's reckless and irresponsible. I think it's trying to show maybe a little bit of patriotism and masculinity to some degree. The military, Marco Rubio is in the crowd. Look there, it looks like Cash Patel. Look at the octagon. All the sponsors in there. Trump 250. That was an amazing fight. If you didn't get a chance to watch it, he did really well there. Oh, and then flips and stunts and stuff like that. And look, there's the First Lady. Yeah. Yeah, look at all that. American flags. Look at Macho Man and the Hulk. Just looks like everybody's enjoying themselves. Fireworks. All that good stuff. And whether you agree or you disagree with it, it doesn't matter. It was just trying to show the difference of the next set of photos that I'm fixing to show you. I would say the event for the 250 was probably 50-50 as far as people that were for and against it. But this next event here, I could show you that 90-10, say 90% of the country wasn't as appreciative as the 2023 White House Gay Pride event. There's so many pictures. It was hard to narrow them down to this, so it's just a screen full of pictures, and this is from 23 because the Gay Pride event for 24 was set up just a little bit different. The reason it was set up a little bit different was because it was because of this specific event was not taken as well as they thought would be taken. But just look at all that. The White House has got two flags and a gay pride flag stuck right in the middle of it. You got Joe Biden, all these I call them pride protectors, that kind of thing. You got men in dresses and women pretending to be men, and a couple men over here kissing. If you can see that right there, with all that going on, because our country was about that. You got the White House, LGBT colors there, Pride Month. Let's see. Just trying to show the difference. Oh, they were also allowed to, walk through the White House and have their little fun and show, just like the UFC fighters did. And let's see, inside the White House, it's the rainbow archways. And by the way, all of this was paid for by you and me, the taxpayer. Not a single thing was paid for on the UFC 250 event by the taxpayer. And the gentleman that hosted the event doesn't collect a salary. This gentleman, who doesn't even remember the fact that he was president for 4 years, that needed an auto pen, that needed he needed help riding a bike or whatever, ice cream. Let's see what we got here. Right there, we got men as women and women as men there. That's this big fancy stage they got on the White House lawn, and then, oh, look at that. There's a lot of people there too. You got the Dr. Jill Biden. Let's not forget she's a doctor. Oh, she's got a doctorate, I think, for a teacher. So she's not like a medical doctor. She refers you to call her Dr. Jill Biden. Let's see what else. See if there's a couple politicians in there too. Somewhere I could have saw. Look at that. Love. It says love wins. Depends on what kind of love you're talking about. That's more like an orgy than love. You know what I mean? That kind of stuff right there. This is the event that we paid for. That the uproar and the backlash from the uniparty or the deep state wasn't the same. There was no judges that I'm aware of that were trying to stop this event, and they had it multiple times. They didn't try to get Congress and the Senate involved to stop the flow of taxpayer dollars to pay for a pride event like they did with the UFC 250 event that was completely paid for by the UFC, and not a single dime came out of your pocket. Look at this right here. What is that? That's Pride Month. Abraham Lincoln. Don't know exactly who that is, but it's pretty disgusting as far as I'm concerned. Let's see. I know there was a, wasn't it Pete Buttigieg? Old Pete was in there somewhere. I saw his picture earlier. I mean, look at that. I'll get off it in just a second. I just was trying to make a point that these things were allowed to happen. We weren't ever going to stop it from happening based on the fact it was going to be allowed to happen. And the media and the news wanted you to know that it was okay with what was going on and that you were just supposed to obey and carry on. It doesn't matter to me who is the president of the United States. That type of the behavior that you're seeing in the back screen is unacceptable. I'll take the UFC event, the guys jumping around on motorcycles all day long. And versus that garbage right there. And then last but not least with this, I just don't want you all to forget this right here. Let's see. We'll give it a second to do its thing. Right here. Apparently the internet's awful slow.
Hi, Mr. President.
Welcome to the White House.
Thank you.
Welcome to the White House.
Thank you.
Happy Pride Month.
Can we take a little video? Hi, Mr. President. It is an honor. Trans rights are human rights. Oh, it's a video. Oh, it's a video.
Are we topless at the White House?
Are we topless at the White House? Was there a judge, a federal judge, or any kind of judge that tried to shut that shit show down? I think not. But anyway, I just wanted to show the pros and the cons there. I think what Trump did, I don't know, maybe it's not the most popular thing to do, but it wasn't gay pride. It wasn't men in dresses. It wasn't women pretending to be men. It wasn't all those things that puts a black eye on what's supposed to be the capital of the United States. And it wasn't just the White House. It was, your sports, the NFL, all the Black Lives Matter stuff, where they put it on the field, the halftime shows, all that stuff. They were force feeding that bullshit down our throat, over and over and over again. And it came to a point where most people just started turning that stuff off. I think they would probably wait till like after the national anthem, because they would have to play a black national anthem and all that other stuff. And oh yeah, I guess what's tomorrow? Juneteenth. We're celebrating it's an auto pen Biden holiday. It's just made up. Now the story itself is not made up. If you go back and look through history, it was the proclamation for the independence of slaves in the South, and I believe it was signed like on January 1st, 1863, I think. And then by the time it got to Texas, 2 years later was June 19th, I think, 1865. So if they were really going to celebrate the emancipation of slavery in the South, because that's exactly how it's worded, it's in the South. I'll pull up my picture on my phone. It says the history of Juneteenth. The Emancipation Proclamation was issued by President Abraham Lincoln and became official on January 1st, 1863, declaring the more than 3 million enslaved people of Confederate states free. That's the South. They actually call it Confederate States. Yet it would take 2.5 years for the order to reach Texas, where the announcement was read by Union soldiers led by Major General Gordon Granger in Galveston on June 19th, 1865. So, if you were going to make up a holiday to encourage a voting base, because what they tried to do is they were trying to say that if you're black, we were disenfranchising your vote. We were making it hard, by asking you for voter ID. If you were black, you might not have an ID, which was dumb as shit because that's not true. So they had to do something during those 4 years of illegitimacy, auto pen Biden guy, and they created this holiday to what they thought was going to encourage them to continue to vote for the Democratic Party. And if you have listened to Caught Up at any length at all, the voting system is rigged. It is what's the right word? Manipulated. It's a lot of things, and they needed these people to make the loudest noise. That's why I said 90% of the country didn't agree with the gay pride event. Maybe 50% of the country didn't agree with the UFC. Just numbers that I fictitiously make up in my head based on social media output out there. And so they make up this holiday to like, look, we didn't forget about you. The same so-called party that was part of all of that to begin with. So if Joe Biden, or if I was a president, there was no way that I was going to pick June 19th to make it a federal holiday of that, because that's stupid. It was written into law for 2.5 years before it got to Texas, because they didn't have, who knows? I mean, hell, you could have mailed something to somebody in Galveston that said it was from the president of the United States. I mean, I don't know why it took 2.5 years, even in 1865. But it brings up the same question: is I don't know why the hell you would create a holiday for the failure of a law to getting to a state in a timely manner, even back then. So, kindly stupid. Scrappy Duck says there were many more white, Irish, and mulatto slaves in all of the states during the Civil War. A lot of Irish for sure. James Richards on Facebook. Welcome, James. And he says the power of narrative control. This would it be bad? What would be bad with the breakdown? Oh, he's talking about I thought he was talking about Blount County breakdown. He's talking about the breakdown, and he's talking about me running my mouth about the national politics, my breakdown version of it, right? My opinion. And so, yeah, but June 19th, that's a federal holiday now. And these are just other things that we witness happen over a period. It's been a long 10 years, since Obama got out of office. Trump wins, Hillary loses. If we believe, again, if elections are real, the way that we're led to believe that they're real, because mostly the mainstream media is who tells us who wins. You probably vote, go home and watch the news till, I don't know, 9, 10 o'clock, go to sleep, wake up the next morning, and you're told who won. Same way with your county and state votes and all that. And so the way California works its voting system is weeks. Kind of like how long it took to get the order from Washington, D.C. to Texas in 1863 to 1865. They just took their time. They didn't care. And so the last 10 years between Trump's first administration, the devolution administration, because Biden's not real. Did you guys see the Obama Presidential Center that they put out? I guess it's in Chicago. They put his name on a building. Was it approved by Congress or the Senate? Was it I'm just curious, because anytime you hear about Trump and a name on a building somewhere, they just go absolutely ballistic, and it doesn't bode well. They get the courts involved and they stop it and this, that, and the other. Well, I didn't see no court stopping the Obama Presidential Center from going up, and then I heard it didn't get great reviews. Let's see. Heath is in the house. All right. The majority of the so-called slaves were already here when we got here. On the ones that were brought, 70% were trafficked here, and he blames it on the Jewish people. And I don't know that to be true, but it probably holds some water. And then James wants to know about what was the Tom Cruise, Jack Nicklaus movie. Wasn't that one A Few Good Men? I know it was. You Can't Handle the Truth. That's what it is. Kim's in the house. Hey, Kim, what you doing? I'm just sitting in here, running my mouth, talking by myself tonight. had been a little bit. I thought I'd try to do the show all by myself again, and at least for tonight, right? So, but anyway, the Obama Center, the Obama Presidential Center, the guy that was he was an event organizer, somehow become senator and then president, right? And now he's got a building with a name on it in Chicago, and it didn't get real good reviews. And they brought in all these ex-presidents, like the Clintons and the Bidens. Biden will never have a presidential name on his building somewhere, I don't think, unless they can find somebody in that town he lives in to put it, there. Scrappy Dog says the Irish was definitely trafficked by the Caesarians. So I'm Irish, and I got a good history on where we came from. And I don't know if we were trafficked, but according to the history of the Rileys, we were run out by the pirates. And that's how we made our way to America to become slaves. So Obama's Presidential Center, I don't know. Probably not the most popular thing in was that guy a legitimate president either? I just, there was just another first black president, you know what I mean? I don't know. The older I get, the more that I look at stuff and the more research we get ourselves involved in, then it's, you come to realize that some of the stuff was just fake. And almost with the more technology we get and the more it becomes available, I think the faker it becomes. I don't know if has any of you House of Cards, the show about the president, he what's his name? Kevin Spacey and his wife. And if you've never seen that series, it's probably something you could look into because it's just what they do on that series with the White House. They kind of mock it for what it is, but it's I believe it's exactly how things operate there in Washington, D.C. It says Caesarian Mafia, a.k.a. Jewish. They're Russian and no Semitic blood in them. And Obama was created in Hawaii. That's where a lot of the top tier politicians are created. Isn't it funny? Obama was created in Hawaii. Yes, a few good men created in Hawaii. You really think he's got a birth certificate that says he's born here? Makes me wonder. I don't know. Matters not. The fact is, he's got a name on his building in the middle of Chicago somewhere, or in some, you didn't have anybody coming through trying to stop it. Stop it from being built. Stop using taxpayers' dollars. All that crap. You know what I mean? And if we're going to do it to one, we need to do it to all. And I get so tired of the division where it comes in, whether you're red or you're blue, you're an elephant or a donkey or what the hell ever. I would love to see it all just go straight to hell. No parties. And if you're going to run for office, you can't have titles and nobilities. So can't be an attorney, can't be a doctor, can't be any of those things. You got to be common. You got to be a common civilian, business owner, laborer. I don't know. Maybe a doctor was probably not the right one. Maybe you could be that. When I'm thinking of titles, they were trying to get rid of the British when all this happened and run from the crown. So we're told. So we probably shouldn't have, like dual citizenship, Israel, American politicians in office, that kind of crap. You know what I'm saying? When it says, prior to being cast in a role in politics, him and his then boyfriend, Michelle, were typical crackheads uh, that live in Calumet City, Chicago. Now, there is a lot of truth in that. And as we all know, the UFC fighter came out and let us all know that Michelle was a man. Right, America? Right, America? Uh, so, uh, pretty sure there's some truth in that. He was an event organizer. There's a better word for it. I'm sure I'm just not saying it correctly. And, but he went from that to Senate, and he didn't even finish the Senate to run for president. I think he had to relinquish it to do so. And so, and he was black. And so, if you go back and look, so let's go, we're talking 10 years now with Trump, Biden, Trump, and then you take the 12 years or the 8 years of, so it's 18 years. I mean, geez, what were they doing prior to that? A few years prior to that to make sure that they had the right person because to be a crackhead, he sure as hell doesn't sound like a crackhead when he talks, They claimed he was educated. And he might be, but even the ones that go to college, I know a lot of people that went to college that are just as dumb as hell. So, but they sound smart when they talk to people that don't know them. Once you get to know them after a while, then you're like, what school did you go to? And you got a degree. Kim says Obama's grandmother and brother says he was born in Indonesia and a community organizer. That's right. Community organizer. And isn't it Obama's brother that comes out and says that Obama's gay? He says, why did Trump have all of them UFC fighters all escorted by children? Just more mockery in our faces. I never seen them escorted by children. I saw them escorted by what they called military heroes or services of heroes, and I watched all of it till midnight. I don't know about the children. Not saying that it didn't happen. And I don't know. This is where Heath and I disagree. I don't think Trump's involved in that. I think Trump has shown more often than not, even with the Department of Justice, that they have removed or found more kids, according to the information we get. Remember, because it's only the information that they have that we're allowed to have. So, what the hell? Hang on, guys. Sorry, Amazon Prime. Not for me, but for the neighbors. They pulled up in my yard. And then he says it only takes about 9 months to have a functioning clone. They literally create politicians. I agree with that. I agree with that more than I agree with the last statement about Trump and children. That's for damn sure. Look at that. Am I on podcast? my brother checking in on me, and he seems to forget. Let's see. Let's go. Oh, look at there. Danny Elson's in the podcast. Let me go real quick and read a little bit of Facebook. James says, a few good men. Yep. When I sat the Dutch, they played a major role in slave trade. I don't know what James is saying there. Danny Elson says Michelle has even admitted to being a man before transitioning to a woman, and he was groomed for the position, and we know that. Central casting, and then Kim's big on, the whole ear or the neck placement because they wear masks, and it's not uncommon to know that they all have doubles, maybe triples, and to Heath's point, clones. See, this is what makes Caught Up different than Blount County Breakdown. Blount County Breakdown is like tonight they had their commission meeting. I probably should have aired it, but it's trying to get ready for this. And I got my show on Thursday, and it's the same time as the damn commission meetings here locally. And just to be honest with you, I can watch it and not have to go, so I can prepare for the show. I don't know. We'll get some more involvement in that. I'm pretty sure, especially when it comes to the Blount County Breakdown thing. But it crosses, with what I wanted to do. So as far as that goes. But anyway, I got off on this tangent, right? We were talking about White House UFC versus Trump's White House UFC versus Biden's White House gay event that transitioned into the Obama thing, where his presidential center is. But then it gets me talking about how elections aren't real and how these people are placed in these roles and all that good stuff. Man, I got a lot of traffic out here tonight, and I live way out in the fucking country. And I have cameras. I'll know you're coming before you think you know that you're coming. And the cameras are mostly for the local police because they're sneaky motherfuckers, and they do some unconstitutional shit from time to time. And so if you can catch them when they're coming to play in your yard, that's the best. So, all right, I'm going to get on to, did you guys know the Supreme Court ruled today that, let's see, let me pull it up again because I had to refresh my damn computer. Supreme Court voting decisions. Hang on. This is going to be a good one. You know why? Because it's NPR. NPR is a, what is it? A left-leaning, completely whatever, fully tax-paid for, funded, just so you know, so they can sit around and talk shit about the citizens of this country while they, anyhow. 14 more days till we can shoot to kill. What do you mean, Scrappy Dog? Supreme Court sides with marijuana users who was barred from owning guns. The Supreme Court on Thursday unanimously lifted the use of a gun law used to prosecute, I guess, President Biden's son, Hunter. Imagine that. The case, however, did not affect Biden, who was pardoned by his father. It's the only real pardon. All the other pardons that he gave, he used an auto pen, and they're not real. The case was brought by who's got whatever that dude's name is, a Texas resident who admitted to FBI agents that he used pot several times a week. At the same time, he owned a legally purchased gun. He was soon indicted under the Federal Gun Control Act. That's an unconstitutional law, which makes it a crime punishable by up to 15 years in prison for an individual to use illegal drugs and to have even legally purchased a gun. While it is the same law used to prosecute Hunter Biden, the Supreme Court's decision was sufficiently narrow that it may not insulate from prosecution those who, like Biden, use more serious drugs and own a gun. July 1st, stand your ground extends to your property outside your house. That's true. And so, I don't know, if you're a responsible gun owner, you're probably going to handle yourself right if you encounter somebody on your property outside of your home. If you're irresponsible, we're probably going to hear an uptick of shootings, and they're going to make it sound like that this was crazy. And they shouldn't be making rules about what we can and can't do anyway. First of all, they shouldn't be making rules about what we can do on the 2A side of things and how we're allowed to protect ourselves. It says, in explaining the decision, Justice Neil Gorsuch stressed that the ruling was extremely limited in part because marijuana use has become so ubiquitous. Widely accepted and is now legal to one degree or another in 40 states. So indeed, as Gorsuch observed, the federal government itself has reclassified many marijuana products from Schedule 1, high potential for abuse, category down to Schedule 3 drug. Therefore, said Gorsuch, the only thing before the court is the government's ambitious theory that could automatically strip that guy of his Second Amendment rights to own a gun because he used marijuana a few times a week. The court's answer was basically, no, you can't do that. Which we knew. No, you can't have our guns. No, you can't do that. No. And since it's about the pot, let's talk about pot for a second. I don't know how many of you, and I don't care what your opinion is about pot. Pot's not what they made it out to be. And no offense to the Christian community, but I wish y'all would just shut the fuck up. If you're older and you're aching and you're in pain and you go to the doctor, you're going to a person that's going to prescribe you something by a pharmacy. And if you're a Christian, a lot of these drugs have fetal type of stuff that's applied to these drugs, which means it comes from aborted tissues. And if you are a Christian, then you are supposedly against abortion. Then why in the hell are you taking prescriptions that have those type of ingredients in them? You're taking them because some dude in a white coat or some chick in a white coat told you it was okay, and this was why, based on your symptoms. But by George, if you go to a CBD shop and you get something for those same symptoms, anxiety, sleep, whatever the case may be, that's all natural because it didn't come from somebody in a white robe that claims they got 12 years of college. Well, then you're doing illegal drugs and it's a sin. I'm done with the whole pot as a sin in the Christian community. It's a plant. It's a very healthy plant. It does a lot of good, and it gets you high too. You can break it down in many different ways. It's been oil, back before electricity. Hemp oil did a lot. It did a lot. Um, it even was used to light homes. So rope, uh, all kinds of different things. And again, no local municipality, no state or federal government should be allowed to control that whatsoever. And when you add the Christian community to this topic, well, then, there's where the power comes from, or so they think. And I say it like that because it's a voting base, and so something has to happen in their life for that to change. And so for us, for me, we watched a kid of ours die from a very rare brain tumor. And the medications that they gave her after she went through the surgery and the radiation to finish off the brain cancer was toxic as hell. It came in a package with a skull and crossbones on it. It was mailed to us to our home. It did more damage to her whole body than the cancer did. Ultimately, the outcome was going to happen the way that it did. But I often wonder if we didn't speed it up with all the shit that was prescribed to us by individuals in these white coats. Now, after about 10 months, 11 months of watching the deterioration and the degrade of her daughter, we decided to scrap all the pharmaceuticals they sent. And we found a distributor of RSO called Rick Simpson oil. Why? She didn't like to smoke pot. She wasn't fond of the edibles. She's a gym rat, and she thought drugs were bad. And so just the normal shit that you hear and go through as you grow up. That pot's bad. And so we got Rick Simpson oil, and it was expensive as fuck. I mean, it was like $5,000 for a syringe, like 10 milligram syringe, like the size of your finger, but about that long. And we used it in her foods. So, like when we made whatever dinners or cookies or something like that, because she was losing her appetite. Well, guess what it did? It helped her sleep. It boosted her appetite. It gave her a little energy because she was able to rest and sleep. So when she was up, she could do a little bit more. It had so many more benefits to her disease than anything that the doctors prescribed. Because I think instead of doctors wearing white coats when you walk in, and don't get me wrong, I go to my doctor. I love my doctor. Me and my doctor have conversations like this. If you can't sit down and have a conversation about stuff like this with your doctor, I suggest you find another doctor, because that means that doctor is just so blindsided in one direction. It doesn't matter what you say. My doctor just does not disagree with what I'm saying. But most of these doctors, instead of wearing white coats, they ought to wear coats that have their pharmaceutical sponsors on it. Pfizer, Moderna, whatever they are. You know what I mean? And that way, when you walk in, at least you know where you stand. Instead, they try to make themselves look like they're just pristine and all holy because they got this white outfit on, and what they say is going to be truth or fact. But it's not. So my stand on pot is that it should be legal medically, it should be legal recreationally. The Christian community should stay the hell out of it. If you choose to go to a doctor and go that route, that's fine. But if we choose to go a more natural route for what's going on, then we should be allowed to do that. And we shouldn't be judged by the church because we did that. I think the church is instrumental in why things are the way they are when it comes to marijuana, just me personally. And it's time that they stop. And it's time for all 50 states to be legal, just straight up legal. Go to your doctor and maybe get a higher potency of something, prescribed to you that way, or, go to a local CBD shop that's allowed to sell whatever the variances are. Just my opinion. Okay, I got talking dumb shit, didn't I? So let me go to this right here. Hang on, guys. All right, we're going to share this real quick. Audio. DEFCON 0. Listen real quick.
Trump ordered both of those without any help from Bibi Netanyahu or Israel twisting his arm to do it, or Miriam Adelson giving him money to do it. So it completely debases this whole theory of Candace Tucker and Joe and all these people who want to say that, Trump is controlled by Miriam Adelson in Israel. It's all nonsense and bullshit. And what you're seeing here is that the regime change in Iran has been in place for a very, very long time. This is significant. I mean, this is China, the UK. We're talking about a global energy corridor, which was a methodology utilized by the London bankers, the derivatives bankers, by the large insurance companies to steal trillions of dollars over a 40-year period. And Trump ended that almost overnight on the first day that the Strait of Hormuz shut down. Now, when we come into the regime change of what's going on in Iran, we have the civilian component government that is going to be looked at as the power strength horse in Iran, which the people are going to flock to. You're going to see Make Iran Great Again start popping up everywhere. The civilian component government is going to start getting all the power. The IRGC is going to have to start to come down. At the same time, you're going to have Hezbollah eliminated within Lebanon. Lebanon's been fighting Hezbollah for a long time. The same with Syria. But what you need is Israel to step back and just fucking stop. And this is what Trump is trying to do right now. But what Israel is doing is they're basically shooting themselves in the foot because Netanyahu blew his load. Right when Trump authorized the strikes on Iran, Netanyahu invaded Lebanon, which was a dumb strategic military move. He knew that the only way that he could support and substantiate a dual-fronted war. We talked about this last year during the 12-day war. Well, the only way he could substantiate that was with U.S. help and support. And the moment that the U.S. went into negotiations with Iran, and Iran, they bumped up everything against Hezbollah, and Israel started getting their asses kicked. Now, also, you have to add in there, who was the adversary of Benjamin Netanyahu last week, who said that if you continue to bomb Gaza and continue to do this, we're going to go after you. It's the same person that last year said that we have 32 Muslim nations that are going to come together in the League of Arab Nations, and we will stop you physically or kinetically if you continue to bomb Gaza. That was Erdogan in Turkey. And now what do you have? You have Erdogan is the one that worked with Trump to take out Assad and put Jojani in there. You have Erdogan just last week telling Benjamin Netanyahu, like, let's go to war. You want to go to war? We will fuck you up. And Netanyahu is lashing back at that. Why is that interesting? Turkey is a NATO nation. Okay? Now, do we have a defense cooperation agreement with Israel?
Yes. No.
It's just kind of, it's just there. I think there's one existent from 1948, but it's just a pact agreement, a cooperation agreement.
I thought it was a treaty.
It might be. Okay, I might be wrong on this. People check me on this one. But
anyway, the point to what he was trying to say is that Israel wasn't included in this negotiation for this memorandum, right? And it's neat because Josh and Alpha from DEFCON 0, they say things that are similar to where's it at? The people from Promethean Action, the two ladies, Susan Kokinda and who's the other one that escaped me at the moment? Anyway, they do a fantastic job, and so it's neat when I can find these. They're all different people. They're different spectrums of life. Josh is Navy. Alpha is Marine, and then you got Susan Kokinda and Barbara Boyd that are, I don't know exact journalists, I guess, but they're studying Promethean Action is studying the old guard, meaning that they're talking about London and all of that, where it's playing a role. It's being disintegrated. The old guard is being disintegrated by some of the actions of President Trump and what he's been doing. But anyway, I'll pull this up here real quick. And this is about 10 minutes long, guys. And then after that, I will close out the show. I'll try to have a guest on for next week. Because the dialogue's a little bit better when you got somebody to, bounce things off back and forth, especially when it's live. And I've learned to see that over the last 4 months or so. But anyway, check her out real quick. They're amazing. Promethean Action. If you're into this part of it.
Before the G7 summit in Avion, Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney flew to Ireland, and he warned what was coming. He said that countries
are navigating a global rupture, not a quiet transition. The post-Cold War world, rules-based order is breaking down.
Carney had no idea how right he was. And at the summit, Donald Trump demonstrated it with this stunning comment about Israel and Syria.
And I suggested to Israel to let Syria take care of Hezbollah. Because to be honest with you, I think they'd do a better job of doing it. I didn't like where 2 hours before we're signing the agreement that there was an attack in Lebanon, in Beirut. I did not like that. I let them know that. I didn't like it, not at all. But I think that Syria, he's pulled that country together amazingly quickly. He's very capable, and he's been very good for me. And if Israel can't do the job without killing everyone else, he'll do the job. Syria will do the job.
So in what world does the president of the United States push aside Israel and suggest that the Syrian president, who had been the leader of an al-Qaeda affiliated group, step in? Not in the world that Carney is mourning. It's a new world. And this week, it arrived with Donald Trump at the G7. I'm Susan Kokinda, and I've been fighting to create this new world since 1971. So if you want to be part of this, hit those like, share, and subscribe buttons and stay in touch. Today, I'm going to talk about how this plays out in 3 ways. First, how Trump closed a deal with Iran after previous presidents failed for 47 years. Second, what he really meant by his remarks about Lebanon, Syria, and Israel. And third, why both of those events have Mark Carney and friends a lot more frightened than they're letting on. So, in terms of the Iran deal, all of the empire's American outlets, whether the mainstream press or the social media universe, they want you to think that the Iran deal is another taco moment. Trump always chickens out. So the New York Times editorial board intoned, President Trump lost this war. And NATO's think tank, the Atlantic Council, declared, Trump celebrates while America capitulates. Now, hold that in your mind for a moment, because these institutions are not dumb. They're deliberately covering up the real target, because it wasn't only the IRGC or the Ayatollah's government. The target was much bigger. It was how Iran's terrorist capabilities and threats to close the Strait of Hormuz have been part of the empire's business model for half a century. White House Trade Counselor Peter Navarro has a really good name for it. He calls it the terror premium on oil, the de facto tax that every nation on earth pays whenever the strait is threatened, and that premium flows through London clearinghouses and Lloyd's of London insurance certificates. Breaking that up was Donald Trump's goal, topped only by the urgency of preventing Iran from having a nuclear weapon. But how do you break up that business model? You turn assets that have been tools of empire into something else, not through chaotic regime change, but by creating a dynamic where forces can arise that might actually represent their nation's interests, like we did in Venezuela. And this is what J.D. Vance meant when he said this.
Fundamentally, we're dealing with everybody in the Iranian system. You know, there's the IRGC, the sort of regime hardliners, the military side. There's the political leadership. And within the political leadership, you have people who are more hardline and less hardline. We expect to have a full spectrum of representatives at the negotiation on Friday. Again, we've been talking to these people, sometimes indirectly, but sometimes directly. And that's what's fundamentally changed under the president's leadership. We are now speaking directly to the Iranian system.
That is not Lindsey Graham's regime change. And Donald Trump made that very clear in an aside at the G7 summit.
What do you say to Republicans like Senator Lindsey Graham, who is skeptical of the MOU?
Lindsey is skeptical?
Yes.
I'll have to talk to Lindsey. He'll be in big trouble.
Well, if Lindsey is skeptical about the memorandum of understanding, you can only imagine what he thinks about Trump's remarks about Syria and Israel. But before I get to that, let me encourage you to go to the Promethean Action website and sign up for our free newsletter. You've probably already figured out the world doesn't work quite the way you've been told, and we will help you navigate this new terrain. Trump's Syria remarks weren't an accident. They were a message. When Trump said Syria should handle Hezbollah if Israel can't do the job without killing everyone, that is a direct challenge to the carefully crafted imperial architecture which has kept the region in turmoil for decades. And Donald Trump pulled no punches.
Are you frustrated with Netanyahu, sir?
No, we had a great relationship. We're talking about some end details. I didn't like that he did an attack based on there was a very minor little thing with some drones that were released, and he ends up doing I saw that attack. I saw where that bomb went. Did you see what happened? That was a vicious, that was too much.
So after suggesting again that Syria should handle Hezbollah better than Israel has, Trump addressed the potential of Lebanon, a Lebanon free of the Hezbollah threat.
I've had a great relationship with Bibi, but now Bibi has to be more responsible with respect to Lebanon. Lebanon used to be a great country. It was a country where you had professors, doctors, lawyers. The great intellect was in Lebanon. Now it's terrible. I would say of all countries, they've been treated the worst. And they can't defend themselves. And they have Hezbollah, which is a problem for them. So, no, I'm not happy with the way Israel has handled themselves with Lebanon and with Hezbollah. They should have been able to do the job faster. It just goes on forever.
That is pure Donald Trump, recognizing that Lebanon, which has an incredible intellectual tradition and used to be considered the Paris of the Middle East, needs to itself be liberated from the chessboard. And Bibi Netanyahu has not done it, so maybe Syria should. You see, Donald Trump doesn't deal with imperial proxies. He wants to deal with leaders and forces that could potentially represent their nation's sovereign interests, which is why he devoted more public press time with the Emir of Qatar and the president of the UAE on the first day of the G7 summit than he did with the other European leaders. Those Gulf leaders represent the interests of their countries far more than Keir Starmer, Emmanuel Macron, Friedrich Merz, or Mark Carney do. Trump's foreign policy operates on the principle of sovereignty, that we have our interests, each nation has its interests, and you do not mediate relations through the lens of multilateral or supranational institutions. And that contrast is exactly what Mark Carney was complaining about in the run-up to the G7 summit. So to understand what really happened this week, listen to Mark Carney as he concedes that the old order is dead. Carney gave 2 speeches in Ireland the week before the G7, and you could call them concession speeches. Listen to him wave off the very institutions that he spent his life serving.
The Taoiseach just referenced Coalition of the Willing for Ukraine. We've been there. That's not NATO. It's not the G whatever that's coming together. It is a group of like-minded countries that are committed to supporting Ukraine.
Did you catch that? The empire's own central banker just told you that NATO is not really the operative factor. And the G7, which was supposed to be the crown jewel of the post-war order, he calls it the G whatever. When Mark Carney is this dismissive of his own institutions, the obituary has already been written. And then watch what the G7 produced this week. A joint declaration pledging to bolster Ukraine's military and tighten the screws on Russia. And yes, Donald Trump signed it. The headlines called it unity. Let me tell you what it really is. It's a bill, and it's not addressed to the United States. Under Donald Trump, the United States is not funding Ukraine. When arms go to Kiev, the Europeans buy them, and the Europeans pay for them, and the Europeans deliver them. So when the G7 pledges to bolster Ukraine's military, what they're really pledging is European money. And the question that nobody seemed to ask at Avian is whether Europe has any left. And it doesn't. And we know that because the empire told on itself just days before the summit. The man in charge of Britain's military, Defense Secretary John Healey, quit. Not over a scandal, but over money. He resigned because his own government refused to fund the British Armed Forces at the level needed. His Armed Forces Minister walked out the door right behind him. The UK's Parliamentary Defence Committee called it a grave moment. So let that sink in. The empire that lectures the world about defending Ukraine and standing firm against Russia, its defense secretary resigned because Britain can no longer afford to defend itself. And that's who just pledged to arm Kiev. A broke empire, signing a check it can't cash. And that, not the war and not the weapons, is what has Mark Carney terrified. So listen to his real complaint. The line everybody quoted, but almost nobody understood.
The post-Cold War world of rules-based order is breaking down. Multilateral institutions have weakened. Economic integration, from which we have benefited, is being weaponized. The international trading system, which we've relied upon for decades, is under threat.
Breaking down, weakened, disappearing. Look at that. It isn't a list of armies or alliances. It's a list of the economic machinery, the multilateral institutions, the free trade system, the financial architecture. That's a banker's eulogy. And he's reading it because the thing that machinery was built to do, keep nations dependent, indebted, and controlled by the empire, is coming apart. Why? Because Donald Trump is reasserting the American system, the principle that every nation has the right and the duty to build its own economy, its own industry, and its own strength, instead of renting its future from London and Wall Street.
Yep.
That's the rupture that Carney is mourning. The post-war economic system is breaking down because it only worked when the United States submitted to its rules. And Donald Trump is no longer doing that, and he's now enforcing the rules of the American system. So go back to the question I opened with. In what world does the President of the United States hand Hezbollah to a former enemy in Damascus instead of Israel? The same world where he deals with the whole Iranian system instead of bombing it into chaos. And the same world where he lets a bankrupt Europe pay for its own war.
Yep.
Trump is done propping up the empire's proxies, its choke points, and its clients.
Yep.
He's dealing instead with nations on the basis of what they can build and defend on their own. That's why Iran, Syria, and Carney's panic are all the same story. The chessboard gives way to the American system. Carney calls it a rupture, Donald Trump calls it a golden age, and we call it the future. And this week at the G7 summit, it arrived. So if you want to fight for that future, go to the Promethean Action website and become a supporting member or contributor. This has been your midweek update. Thanks for watching.
Please take
Susan Kokinda. She does a fantastic job. I like that, man, so much. Israel wasn't included. Not by design. I mean, it's by design. So I won't speak onto it anymore, based on the fact that they said it so right. The old guard, the empires, they're going away. That system is being broken down based on the fact, and I know I said I wasn't going to do it, was that every country has its own right to create its own economic future based off of whatever resources they can do. And so I liked hearing that. So that right there blows a hole in the Joe Kent, what's her name? Oh man, the black girl. Anyway, Candace Owens, all those that little network of podcasters, the Valhalla group, Sean Ryan, all them boys. Don't get me wrong, they're not boys, they're men. Served their country, and they did things off of the intel that they got by those administrations that were in control of. Actually, the intel is always in control of the administration. So now they're on podcasts talking about how Trump's not doing it right, based off they have information from intel, and they're talking about some of the things that they did that was dumb because of the intel. So it's just a wild web that we weave. And so, well, guys, it's 9:15, and I appreciate everybody that was in the chat. Scrappy Dog, Kim, Heath. Let's see, on Facebook, we got Frankie Woody. We got the raise. Look at him. He got the raise. We'll talk about that on Blount County Breakdown, buddy. Let's see. So Danny Ellison said the policymakers are in the minority of the cannabis opinion, but they make the law so they have the power still. Marsha Blackburn and John Reith both said they would veto a bill even if the people demanded it, and that's a punch in the face. And let's see, the church and the big pharma is another big rabbit hole, dude, which is true. Again, they shouldn't be allowed to make them laws. Monty Fritz said that he would legalize it medically, but never recreationally. And again, I said my views on what I think about it, and I'll stand by what I said. So, with that being said, Frankie Woody, I'm glad they got the raise. Okay, I mean, it's just funny as hell that you pop in there and say that. But anyway, y'all have a good evening, and we'll have a little bit of people on the porch. See you guys Tuesday at 9 o'clock, Blount County Breakdown.
My heart, pumping all day long. Get me the morning when darkness comes. My heart, ooh. It takes so long to mend. It's harder to lean on this shell of a man. You found love in the Lord, your family and your friends. Could you please pray for me that I can find the same within? My heart, pumping all day long. When the evening comes, please stay strong. Give me the morning when darkness falls. My heart, soaking wet. Please take my jacket. Take it. Please believe me. Please don't leave me. I said I'm sorry. Didn't you hear me? Please believe me. Please don't leave me now. I said I'm sorry. I said I'm sorry. Didn't you hear me? The rain, the rain, the rain is falling slow. It's cold, we know. We're standing in it too. You're there, your hair is soaking wet. Please take my jacket. You look better in it anyway. You look better in it anyway. Just take it. Just take it. Watching you go through it. You're living, you're loving, you're laughing, you're playing, you're singing, you're dancing in the dark. You're dancing in the dark. I said I'm sorry. You're dancing in the dark. Dancing in the dark. I said I'm sorry. You're dancing in the dark. Wind is always at my back. My back is always strapped with these things that I call my own. Life, it isn't always grand, but when you finally take that stand, you become a man. You needed to You meant everything to me. While you left, I could not see. I guess people just do what they want. Time, it goes faster every day, and my heart, it leads the way, while the future, it fades into a memory. Is always at my back. My back is always strapped with these things that I call